So ideas on how to best do that are welcome. Can put them in the chat box for us. But we also have polls and other things that we've planned through the learning community just to get input into different ways we can share with each other. So we're all becoming digital experts, which I guess is one of the benefits of sheltering in place. But we'll continue to work on ways to make sure that we're having great conversations with each other, even though we're in our own separate homes. So hope everybody is ready to go, and you can see my screen. It's our opening Capital Learning Communities session screen, and let us know if you have an issue with sound, but otherwise we'll get started. First, we always like to thank our funder. We're funded through the Office of Child Abuse Prevention through the California Department of Social Services. And Learning Communities is part of Strategies 2.0, which mission is to, Strategies 2.0 is a catalyst for professional skills, organizational structure, and community relationships necessary to mitigate the risk factors for child abuse and neglect, and to promote child, family, and community well-being. And the way that Strategies 2.0 supports their mission is through three main outlets, which are trainings that they provide, consulting to organizations, and then of course these learning communities to help grow the knowledge and networks for professionals working with families. And my printer is going off, so I apologize for the extra sound. We'll just keep going. But so learning communities is we work and come together really to create cross-sector partnerships to learn from each other and work on organizational capacity to solve pressing problems that are have been brought up and throughout the counties that we work in, and for specifically for the Capital Learning Community, which is Sacramento region and 9 counties surrounding. You don't really have a lot of social Instagrammable moments with the webinar, but I know a lot of people take shots of their screens and post them online on what they're doing. Feel free to use quotes or thoughts and share on social media about their learning community. If you can, please use the hashtag capital LC or community power. I apologize. Let me see if I can get this to stop. There we go. And then really wanted to highlight that Strategies 2.0 YouTube channel. Well, that's where we're hosting the recordings for the learning community. So just YouTube channel, if you go to Strategies 2.0, today's learning community will be up in 48 hours. So that's also just a reminder for everybody that this is being recorded, and we are going to be posting it on our YouTube channel. Also on the YouTube channel, we have, other than the recorded learning communities, we have webinars that Strategies 2.0 puts together, as well as Vehicle for Change videos. So take a look. There's a lot of great content and videos on our YouTube page that talk about community engagement, all sorts of different topics to help support the work that you all do. In this slide, we had it in the presentation last time, but wanted to pull it out again, especially during this time where it's really important on staying connected and being engaged in different ways. So really thinking about who you want to connect with and stay engaged with your network, or even include in, that's important to get their insights or thoughts to your work as we're moving and pivoting to different strategies So it's a really great reminder for me about who I want to stay connected with, and who else I would like to include in my network. So we have, the individual and families that we work with, elected officials, co-workers, community partners. Just a reminder of who is important to our work and our two communities, and who we'd like to stay engaged with. And then other ways to stay connected and engage with learning or strategies 2.0, besides signing up for their webinars and trainings online, is going to strategiesca.org. There's a great newsletter that can sign up for. Again, you can request and register for the trainings, and then you probably already know, but you can also register for the learning communities and get more information about the learning communities on the website as well. And then for today, again, really trying to ensure that we can have as much conversation as we usually would for a learning community, and get people's input and share what our thoughts are and what we're doing. So with go-to training, there's a couple of ways that we'll be able to do that. First, just make sure that your mic is working. So if you do want to speak, have something to share with the group, that you are either set up to get sound and your mic through your computer, or call in through your telephone. It's right there. And then we can, anytime you feel you have a question or have something that you would like to share with the group, there's the chat box. You can type in your message below right here, and then all the comments should show up above. We also have the raise your hand function. If you just put your mouse over and click on it, then we will, it will notify me and Bryn, who's on the other side helping with technology and managing this learning communities meeting as well. She will be able to unmute your line and call your name, and then you'll be able to share and speak to the group. This is the mic right here, and it'll show if people can hear you or not. There is another function I'd like to point out. If you go to your control panel, you'll see all these functions, but you'll also see a little pencil that will be highlighted. You can actually click on, we'll give you access to the pencil. You can write on the screen, and we'll also be conducting polls as well, just to make it a little more fun and engaging, and different ways that we can share with each other. Great. So this learning community is all about youth engagement. Again, my name is Lindsay Nita. I'm the learning community facilitator for the Capital Learning Community. This is the third of 4-part series. We've been focusing on community engagement. The first one was expanding our thought and learning about how to approach and engage community leaders and incorporate them into your work in your organizational programs. The second one was about setting up policies and infrastructure to help support your organization to really to start or deepen your work with engaging community. And then during and after the last learning community session, had a few people talk about really wanting to learn more about youth, engaging youth in their communities, because there is a little, just for having best practices that are age appropriate, and there are different models on how to best incorporate youth into the work. So that's why we've decided and landed on this topic today. So really appreciate the feedback and getting that information from folks on what you like to focus on within community engagements is great. So always appreciate the feedback. And I think that we have really great speakers today to help kind of deepen the understanding and expand practices and best tips to share with you all. For today, we'll go over the agenda and objectives first for the whole learning community session. Last time we had a little bit of homework, and we've been having a little bit, putting out homework or things to do and work on between learning communities. And so we'll do a little share out. Hopefully everybody is receiving my emails and saw that we've been including the homework in the emails. So if you didn't participate in the last learning community, that's okay. If you have something to share, we'd love to hear from you. We'll do a COVID-19 check-in, and really, I know COVID-19 is talking about it all the time and has really engulfed a lot of our work and lives. And so want to give people an opportunity to share with each other, I think, how your organization is best coping with it, and just a little time to talk about how we're coping with it, and to share with each other. And then we'll jump into the actual youth engagement, getting started with Bina. She has really great presentation with videos and polls, and so that'll be an hour long. We'll do a short 5-minute break, and then we'll change over to building healthy communities, youth ambassador speakers. We have Kim Williams, the head over there at Building Healthy Communities Sacramento, with Youth Ambassador Ray will be joining us to talk about the work and program that they set up for youth engagement around the census, which I just thought what they're doing is really great and really interesting, and then just timely being it's focused around the census work that I thought was interesting. So really excited to hear from them, and then we'll do next steps and close with our next homework assignment. Objectives is to build language and understanding on different types of youth engagement models, learn from successful programs. Wena's going to share one that she's involved with, and like I said, Building Health Communities will share theirs, and hopefully through the speakers and presentations and from today, will help develop steps to prepare and start engaging with youth in your community. So moving on and start with homework. So our homework was to identify what tools and resources does your organization utilize to support community engagement. And so have a little bit of surprise for those who have done their homework and would like to share with us. And so for those that would like to speak, let's test our we'll go to training skills, click on your hand to share if you'd like to share with us. And then Bryn will unmute you and invite you to share.
Awesome. So it looks like we already have our first hand raised, and we have Nicole. So Nicole, you are free to unmute yourself. It looks like you're self-muted, and then share your response. Thank you. And we can see you on the screen, which is great.
Hi. So typically my job is actually in outreach. I work for Help Me Grow Yolo County, and I do community outreach to share our program. And I usually do those at events. We go out to different events in the community for children and tell them about our program. But things have changed dramatically. And so actually we kind of have new tools we're using. We started doing our music groups that are twice a week are done on Zoom now. And we started that yesterday, and it was adorable to see all the kids at home, and they have their stuffies dancing in front of the video. And we even had, we had this couple that we were very confused seeing them on their video, because it was like two grandparents, and we would only see the grandparents singing and dancing. There were we didn't ever see the kid. And then we found out at the end that their grandson was actually in the music group and they were attending with him. So that
Oh,
because they'd been social distancing. So they were excited to get to share that with him. So
oh,
that was community engagement on like a whole other level than we even foresaw it being. And so next week we start more groups. We start movement groups for kids, and a teen social group will be online.
that's awesome. So, are those programs that you usually do in person and now you found a way to do it online? Oh, that's
But what's
wonderful.
been kind of great about that is how many more people we have. I mean, it's like doubled the attendees because people don't have to get their 2-year-old out of the house at 9 o'clock in the morning and be there on time and the whole thing. They seem to be able to attend better.
Wow.
We've also been able to share out like handouts in the chat and stuff so that they have activities to work on the rest of the week. And we created like an online binder too of COVID resources for the families and for our therapists at the Children's Therapy Center. They've started doing teletherapy. So all of their clients are now teletherapy clients, and that's been a big change for them to really try to figure out how to adjust the way they do their treatment sessions to a purely parent coaching model. But that's
Wow.
also been amazing because parents are so much more involved and they're learning so much and they're reporting back how much they're learning. They're meeting each other in the chats of the groups and becoming social outside of the group. And so it's just been a really great unintended consequence.
That's so incredible. Just moving it online has increased engagement so much and in ways that that seem very surprising and getting the parents engaged too. So do you see it being something that you might consider doing once we're not in shelter in place anymore?
I'm kind of hoping so. Like maybe we could be Zooming the groups and so they would still be happening in person, but people could join remotely too. I think that would be great. I think teletherapy is going to continue for sure, even once the sessions can be in person, because it allows people to attend when they're sick or the therapist is sick or when they're on vacation. So it's going to be a lot more engagement from that standpoint too.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And then,
Awesome.
so we'll think of, oh, so just, so we'll, Nicole and others are sharing, take a look at your email boxes after the learning community, because we'll have a little surprise for you for sharing your homework with us. So thank you, Nicole. Sorry, we have a next person ready?
Yes, we have Jolivet Santos. So
Yes.
you can unmute yourself. Awesome. Hello.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I don't know if everybody could hear me or
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yep, we can hear
cool.
you.
So I'm from First Five and I'm one of the case managers there. And like just like her, we also have been what we do is we do outreach to like different organizations and let them know about what we do. We also have some co-locators within our facility and that really helps out a lot. And we also do have like media like Facebook and Instagram where we post things for them. Um, and then we also have like the commission meeting at our facility so that we have like people coming in also doing the commission meetings. Um, and then just like like what she's just had said that we actually host we do activities with the kids. So we have classes for the kids that we would do at our facility, like for example, music and motion is one of them, one of the most popular ones. And what we're doing now, just like how she said, is we're trying to like record ourselves to do like some activities. This is actually something that we were talking about um, with our coworkers this week, and we had the Zoom meeting as well. And we were talking about how we could better help the community, and we're talking about how maybe we could do, for example, we used to have this class called Reading Rainbow, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start doing like recording ourselves and doing like a story time, and we would do like every Thursday or every other day. And then we would also like we're starting to use our media platform more so we could like
Mhm.
let people know about what activities they could do with their children.
Great. Yeah, it sounds like this time just people pivoted and found new ways to get engaged and resources to folks. That's really great.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. Do we have another person ready, Brent?
Yeah, next we're actually going to have Guadalupe Gonzalez, who has their hand up.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we hear you bright and clear.
Cool. Sorry, I was making pancakes while I was listening to you guys. Uh,
Are you delivering
so
service?
no. What was I gonna say? So I work for North Bay Children's Center. It's a nonprofit organization here in the Sonoma and Marin County. And I started as a case manager, but then I moved to teacher assistant in the last year, I guess. So they're making us do a lot of webinars and trainings, but they also added, they started asking us to do videos for the kids, whether it's like reading a story or doing some exercise or singing a song. And then they've been posting that to the families to, I guess, do at home. But I guess I just wanted to share that I've been getting a lot of the webinars and trainings I've been taking. I've been using that information to implement on the videos, and also to create resources for the families. So yeah, it's been helpful.
Great. Thanks. And yeah, learning so much from Zoom and then being able to, and all the webinars and being able to apply it in other parts of the work. Sounds great. And it sounds like we're all getting benefit of staying at home is getting more digitally savvy as well. Great. Thank you for sharing. Brent, do we have anybody else?
Yeah, we have Troy. Troy wants to share, so you know Troy.
Hi, Troy.
Hi, Lindsay.
Good to
Everything
see
looks
you.
everything looks fantastic.
Great.
So I just wanted to share. Most of you know that I'm on kind of two sides of the house now. I'm Strategies 2.0 training and technical assistance, but on the CAP Center side, I'm being certified as the Healthy Families America trainer, which also entails some technical assistance. So as far as our community outreach, yes, for me, being old, it's been painful, but it's worked. One of the documents that we have to fill out, our home visitors have to fill out, is called a parent survey. Very in-depth. Some of the questions are very challenging. And we have some folks in our office who started to do them virtually, who have done them virtually using Zoom because of the sensitivity of some of the questioning and things like that. So watching that happen, part of my certification process is observing. So I've had to observe virtual supervision, virtual home visits. So that's been another interesting piece. And kind of what Nicole was saying, and I think, Lindsay, you asked, was, hey, can this somehow translate to after this? You know, there's some outreach that has to happen. As you know, Lindsay, we've talked about in the past, you know, from where we are all the way up north, there are a lot of folks who don't get our services. So is this an opportunity for those folks that are geographically challenged for us to come out of this and start to reach some more people? So hopefully there's a silver lining. Many of you know I train and teach, but I also try to keep it light and keep levity in it as well. So a little bit of humor for me is every time I get on Zoom, I finally have gotten my mother to stop talking to me like this because she doesn't. So just a little bit of humor because all of that has to be rolled into this trying time that we have. So thanks, Liz.
Yeah, thank you, Troy. I do appreciate you chiming in and providing a little bit of humor and really good input. So thank you for joining us. Yeah, I think I was talking a little bit earlier. It's just my office room is so dark that I have to learn where it's like bringing in extra lamps, opening up the windows, like trying to make sure that you can actually see me. I don't look like I'm in a cave. So coming a lighting expert, that's been fun. But yeah, and just making sure, and I think this time has also, like Troy mentioned, just being able to think about taking the opportunity to think about how we can engage even more people in these tools, because we are seeing such great results from kind of pivoting. So it's really great to hear that even more people are getting engaged, and we're learning so much, and have and thinking of different ways to make sure that we're reaching our communities. So thanks everybody for sharing your homework, and those did get a little special gift at the end. And Bryn, I'm not sure if there's anybody else
Yeah,
I
we
would like.
do have one more hand raised from Victoria Tejas. So Victoria, I've unmuted you.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Just want to
Yes,
make
we
sure.
can.
All right. So my name is Victoria. I am an intern at Parenting Network here in Tulare County. And for us, it's a little. There's another intern also taking this session with us. And I mean, for us, has the struggle for us as interns is that having to work from home has been very limited in what we can do to serve the community. But one of the things that our supervisors are have encouraged us to do is to look for resources for a lot of these clients, and for us is posting on our pages, on our personal, not our personal, but on our agency pages, like the resources that are out there for not only our clients, but for other people who are not even clients to have the resources to go through also what we're going through in our communities. And I feel like that is very important, as many people don't know, and some people having to be home has been also a struggle, either financially. I mean, for some people, it's a easy way of, oh, we're home with our kids, but for some people, I mean, they're, financially it could be struggle. So we're providing resources in regards to food or what our resource center provides. As of right now, our agency is closed. We're not allowed to have clients in, but the way that we're reaching our clients is via Zoom, through phone calls. And like if there's any needs, we're dropping off, boxes of foods or whatever our clients are in need of. We're just saying, hey, we're gonna go at this time. We're dropping off this box of items for you. So there's no really interaction physically, but we're able to just, still engage with them. One of the things that also our resource center is doing is a lot of the case managers, especially those who are funded by the First Five, are doing a lot of activities for the children. So if so families are able to see, or there's story time activities for us to that we provide for families who have young children to do at their homes, because they're not able to come and do these activities in our agency. So those are some of the resources that we're providing.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think that this is a hard time for families financially, and a hard time, for parents that are having to work and also be the educator and caretaker for their children now. So I know everybody is looking for resources, and it's so great to hear that organizations are finding ways to get resources and finding the resources and providing them to communities, and really showing that we're here together on this, and keeping us connected in these different ways. So really great to hear all the different ways that people have been pivoting and seeing that there's good response, and that, like Troy said, there's silver lining to this is we'll get learn new things about our communities. We'll learn new ways to connect with our communities, and hopefully really be able to build the supports that's needed during these difficult times. So really appreciate everybody sharing about how the resources and tools for community engagement and doing your homework. And if that is it, we'll move on. And we've kind of discussed this a little bit, but maybe if you have anything you'd like to add, just put it in the chat box on how your organization stay connected with each other and your constituents during this pandemic. We've already, if you have more to share about how you guys are staying connected with your constituents and your community, great, please include. But maybe let us know and share how you've been staying connected within your organization. How have you guys been supporting each other, your coworkers, your partners, through these difficult times. So if you could just type in how you guys been staying connected internally within your organization and supporting each other, that'd be great. So we can all kind of learn and bring ideas back to get us through another month of sheltering in place. Yep, changing weekly staff meetings to Zoom meetings. I'll share, I don't know if Shane is on from Learning Communities, but she has been great keeping us connected. We've started a book club that we will, that is geared towards, supporting our work professionally. But we'll be reading it and then coming together to discuss the book and how we can incorporate it into our work. So that's I thought that was a really fabulous way to stay connected with folks and support each other through COVID-19. Yes, Zoom meetings have been vital. Staying connected. We had Nicole share that their physical therapist is a Zumba instructor, and she's been leading Zumba for them every week. That's amazing. I think one of the things that's keeping a lot of people sane is incorporating physical activity, or making sure that we're getting out, going on walks around the block. But that's really been, I think, helpful for a lot of people to stay awake and feeling good, and not really letting cabin fever get to us, is incorporating physical activity into our days. So
it's also been very funny.
Sorry, go ahead, Nicole.
It's also been very funny.
Yeah.
Because all trying to, and everyone's family members are trying to Zumba with us, and it's pretty cute. It's pretty funny. So it gives us all an opportunity to laugh together. And the therapist who's a Zumba instructor is like energy on a different level. So it's really nice to have her bring that into my family room, because I'm at my house by myself for weeks now. So having her show up with her ray of sunshine is just fantastic.
That's amazing. I love that. We'll have to figure out who my group has Zumba, but that's really great. And I love how that it's one physical activity, but like you said, it's just fun and and great to feel that energy from others. So thanks for sharing that. What else? Yes, group texting has been a great way to stay connected, to shooting off little messages, whether it be, making sure that we're staying on top of our work, or just having, motivating or even funny chats with each other has been something to look forward to and a great way to stay connected. See. Yeah, and definitely utilizing the camera, I think, is helpful. There's always a ton of phone calls too, but being able to have Zoom or video conferencing and seeing faces is a great way to feel like we're really engaged in seeing each other, even if we're in our own home. Let's see. Anything else you'd like to share? Not, we'll move on to the next. We just have one more question that I thought would be great, is if there's other resources. We said, having text messaging, having but if there's other if there's things that you've utilized, whether it be like I have exercise apps that you utilize every day, or another, or whether it be like we mentioned, like different groups that we've been participating online, or if it even is just social media clubs? What are different resources that you've relied on to keep you connected to folks, feeling good? Sorry about that. I had a little trouble with my microphone, but what other resource? Netflix, yes. Netflix is definitely a way to fill a lot of that time and some really great shows. Happy hours, those, yes. Been, yeah, getting just everybody on
Can't get out.
beverage. Sorry if we can unmute everybody or mute everybody, Bryn.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you. Choir practice, great. Yeah, keeping with daily practices and stuff like that, whether it be virtually, that's great. I saw Tiger King. I have not given in and watched Tiger King yet, but I might have to. I know everybody is watching it and talking about it, and I haven't been able to turn that on yet. Oh, gardening in the backyard, just getting out where you can and getting some fresh air. That sounds great. Doing home crafts. Yeah, doing yoga with the kids, finding ways online that you can keep the kids engaged and doing work. I know, again, I just have so much praise for parents right now that are finding ways to juggle everything. Sounds great. 5 o'clock dance parties every day. That's awesome. And I don't only have one move, so I don't know how long my dance party would be. So, but dance party, those are great. Great. Those are all fun ways that we're keeping connected with folks or, just being able to keep ourselves entertained and through this time. So really appreciate everybody sharing their fun activities that they've come up with. Again, another silver lining, we're just getting so creative on how we can connect it to our social groups and how we spend our time. And so thank you again. Hopefully we've learned some new things about folks today through this activity, and then also maybe we can incorporate some ideas that we've heard as well. So thank you all for sharing. We will, okay, so one quick thing before we jump into the presentation with Bina, just quickly, I'm going to, let's see, I will allow all the attendees to draw. So now through the little pencil on the bar, the toolbar to the left of the, on the left of the training panel, you should be able to write on my screen. So if you could just write your name and organization, see how this goes. Yeah, I love that area. Figure out you can pick your own color. See people's electronic handwriting skills. This is awesome. Maybe just names might be good. We might not have enough room for her names and organizations. I love it. Let's see what. See here. Oops. Apologize. There we go. I see we have Victoria, we got Lola, we got Nicole, we got Bryn, Penny, Michael, Jeremy, Efren, Judy, Jolene, JP, I love it. Great. Awesome. Yeah, this is, go ahead. Yeah, I definitely will need to practice. I keep doing that. My writing skills too. But really appreciate everybody doing a little fun activity. We'll got Nicole just try to get figure out more, just a fun way to get everybody to participate, see how we can incorporate this maybe for next time. All right. Thank you. And then wonder, oops. Oops. Sorry, folks, I'm having trouble.
Go back to the pen icon, you'll be able to erase
Oh, thank you.
all of them. So, because it might be a little hard to read the next slides.
Yeah, it's the screen is overlapping my control panel at the moment. Let's see. Bryn, are you able to do that for me?
Let me see.
I'm having technical difficulties. I can't access my control panel right now. Oops. Don't know why, but my control panel is not letting me click on it right now.
So if you go down to the little go-to icon, the little yellow one that's open, it should open back up in a bigger screen.
It does not.
Okay, I will change myself to the presenter and change you back.
Thank you. Apologies, everybody. One of the fun things about, there we go. Thank you, Bren. Don't know why it was not working for me, but great. Here we go. So thanks everyone for participating. We're gonna jump in now with our speaker, our first one, Bina Lefkowitz. She's Sacramento County Office of Education trustee. She's done so much work in community engagement and youth engagement, and really excited to have her with us today. She has 25 years of experience, and her expertise is really policy program partnership development with as well as direct community youth development. She founded and co-directed the Youth Development Network, and prior to that, she served as a special projects director to the Sacramento City Manager, helping to establish neighborhood services, the Neighborhood Services Department, and serving as the Community Development Director for Housing and Redevelopment Agency. Bina is a trustee for the Sacramento County Board of Education, and she has volunteered as a leader with area congregation Together here in Sacramento, called SACT Act, where she is advocating to improve education, school site council member, or chairperson Brett Hart at Brett Hart and McClatchy. She's a member of the city Sacramento City Unified School District Social and Emotional Learning, and Bina has a BA from Tulane University in New Orleans, and a master's from LBJ School of Public Policy. So thank you so much, Bina, for joining us. Really excited to have you with us and to share more about the models and kind of best practices and tips for youth engagement, as well as a really cool program that I know that you're involved with now. So I will take hold of the screen, and you just tell me when to move on to the next one.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. It's nice to meet you all virtually. I hope you're all staying physically and emotionally healthy and having moments of gratitude during your day. I am so happy to be able to talk to you about my favorite subject, which is youth engagement. And so you could go to the next slide, please. what I'm hoping to do today is really just kind of a youth engagement 101 overview. If just to kind of level set, make sure we're all on the same page, and then I'd be glad to do some offline coaching or even a follow-up if you want to go deeper on this topic. But our goal today is to understand what we mean by youth engagement, why it's important, and a few tips about how to do youth engagement. Next slide, please. So we have a little poll just trying to get a sense of who's on the call. And the first question, and Lindsay, I don't know. Oh, there we go. So I don't know if you could just tell us what kind of agency are you from? Nonprofit, city, county government, school district, or other?
So it looks like about half of you have voted, so I'll give it a few more, you know. We'll give it about 10 more seconds. Looks like almost everyone has voted. Can you get it in if you haven't? I'm about to close it. All right.
Okay. So 61% nonprofit and 33% government, and then some other. Great. Okay, helps to know. Our second question is the age group. Can we have the next slide, please? We want to know the age group of the children or youth you mostly work with. So either you don't currently work with youth, or you work with the little munchkins in the elementary school age, the middle school, high school, or the 18 to 24-year-olds. And this could just be primarily the most likely group of young people you tend to work with.
Okay, we have about 67% of people in, so we're going to give it another 15 seconds or so. So get those votes in. Okay, so I'm going to close the poll now and share the response.
So 30% don't yet work with youth. Okay. A fair amount, 41% work with the what I call the little munchkins, 0 to 5, and the elementary age. Middle school, 6%, and high school, about 18. Okay, and then a little bit of the older group. So thank you. And our next poll is, how do you work with youth? So here we want to know, do you primarily work with families actually, and then engage you through families? Do you provide some direct services, i.e. they just participate in a program you offer, like a dance program, per se? And then, or you provide services directly to youth, but they have a little higher role in terms of helping you run or advise on the program. So again, primarily, where do you fall in here?
Okay, we'll give it 5 more seconds. Okay.
Okay, So the majority of you work directly with families and engage young people through families, okay? About 25% serve youth directly and they participate in your programs. And a few of you are engaging young people at a little higher level with them advising and running programs. Okay, this is good background information, thank you. So now we're gonna go to the next slide, and what I'd like to share with you on this slide is kind of a conceptual way to think about youth engagement. And if you start at the bottom of the pyramid, you'll see that the bottom is providing activities to young people, which some of you, this is more direct activities. And again, my focus is working more directly with young people versus working with their families through touching young people through their families. So this is a shift of thinking about how could I directly work with young people? So again, the bottom is the activities level. This is where you provide services to young people, whether it's educational services, mental health, artistic services, arts and dance or sports. As you go up the pyramid, the next level that we think about in terms of youth engagement is doing service activities with young people, volunteering, community service, and engaging young people in service activities. I want to say at the bottom of the pyramid, the way we think about it is adults provide services to youth, and youth are focused on themselves. They're focused mostly on developing their skills and creating social connections. As we move up the pyramid, we get more into young people thinking about other people, being part of a larger circle, not just themselves, the I, but thinking about the we. And in this case, it's starting to see young people in a little bit different lens about, rather than to, it's more with young people or for young people. So doing service projects or starting to ask young people their advice, like asking them what kind of programming would you be interested in, or how do you think we could solve the problems that we're doing service projects on? What are solutions to those issues that we're seeing? Then as we continue to move up the pyramid to higher levels of youth engagement, we're really looking at seeing young people more as a partner and doing things with young people. And their focus tends to start shifting now towards the community. And in those cases, we're looking at shared leadership with young people. So you may have a youth advisory group, or you may create opportunities for young people to make decisions with you about what kinds of programming you're going to offer. And then what I view as the highest form of engagement is engaging young people in activism and helping them be agents of change in their community and to have voice and to actually create changes at a very high level, systems and a policy level. So I'm hoping you can start thinking about the way you engage young people kind of through this lens. And we're gonna, the rest of the presentation is a little bit about breaking this down. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So we want to define youth engagement. And I found this incredible video that we're going to play in a minute. And it is young people talking about what youth engagement means. And it is very rich in advice and content. So what I wanted to ask you to do as you're listening to the video, if in the chat box, you would listen for words about what youth engagement means based on what these young people are saying, and just write down words that stood out to you in the chat box, words or phrases that stood out to you in the chat box, because I think this will lead us to a definition of youth engagement. So I'm going to have Lindsay start the video and ask you to take some notes in the chat box.
And before we start the video, this is Bryn, just letting you know that if your internet is a little slow, there might be some streaming quality issues with this, but it is a short video and we'll make sure the link gets shared out after this so you can go back and watch it, but just letting you know.
I think it means meaningful involvement of youth, taking youth voice and input and implementing it in services and programming.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, wait, say that again. There's a word that you use.
Using youth voice, meaningful involvement.
Meaningful. There you go. I was gonna say involvement, but I meant to say meaningful. Like it's about being like it's about being genuine about like the youth involvement and making sure that what they're doing actually has some kind of importance. Not just doing anything like just for tokenism or just to show up. Because that's pretty bad. I've had it happen to me before.
Yeah, not just like, here you go, here's a project, do it, but like working together, more or less. Like you can give them a project, but like being there with them too, like having a meaning behind it, and like, I don't know, like it being for the good, not just like some random project. Like it's working towards something better, and it's working together, and it's being inclusive, and all of the character traits that you, like positive character traits you want to reflect on society.
Youth engagement also means capacity building. It's about giving youth the ability and the opportunities to take risks and try new things and develop skills that they wouldn't normally develop, as well as developing skills that are transferable to their life for like employability reasons, sociability reasons, mental health abilities, like being able to sustain positive and healthy mental health.
Yeah, it's taking risks without being judged too. That the fear of like you're putting yourself out there, but everybody's gonna have your back. Like nobody's gonna be judging you. It's not gonna be like, well, if it doesn't work, then what else can we do? Not just no, we can't do that.
Yeah, definitely. Like saying straight out no and just being like, no, we're not gonna do that. And making it's not making the decisions for the youth. It's allowing you to make your own decisions.
And make their own mistakes.
And make their own mistakes. That's very important. Like they say like having permission to fail, like being allowed to fail.
Yeah. And being supported to fail.
Yeah, exactly. Being supported to fail too, because you don't just want to be like, all right, do your own thing. But you want to be there with them and be like, all right, you guys will make that decision.
And
maybe it didn't work this time, but like it might work next time.
And assist them in their reflection. Why did it fail?
Yeah.
How did it fail? Understanding those barriers.
Great. So I saw a few words. Lindsay, can you go to the next slide, please?
Yes.
So some of the words that I saw you listing were meaningful, inclusive. I can't see the chat box, so I try to write down a few things. Building trust, working in partnership, youth making their own decisions and mistakes. So just in light of what you observed and heard and reflected on in the chat box, I just want to read some more formal definition that's come from a few sources. So you'll see that youth are seen as valuable resources. So I want to underline the word resources, prepared to take on ongoing meaningful roles. So meaningful comes up again. And the word prepared, I think, is important. To positively impact relevant school, organization, and community issues. So young people having impact is another important aspect of youth engagement. And then youth engagement is done when youth have, and this is really the issues of voice, choice, and leadership and impact are probably the 4 key concepts around youth engagement. Young people having voice, so how are you giving and helping young people have voice? Do they have choices in your programming? Are you building and enabling them to be leaders? And then what kind of impact are they having, whether it's on themselves, on your programs, in their families, in their schools and community? And the thing about youth engagement, really high-end youth engagement, is really about young people and adults being partners together and learning from each other, making decisions together, and reflecting together. So that's the definition of youth engagement, and I hope a lot of that you saw from the videos, from what the young people said. Next slide, please. So, so now that we, I hope, have a little grounding on what we mean by youth engagement, I wanted to get a sense from you all, why was this topic important to you? Why do you think it's important to engage youth? Because I think understanding the why before we jump into engaging youth and the do part, we need to understand the why. So if you would take a moment to think and to raise your hand, and Bern will unmute your line, and we'll have maybe a few people share out why youth engagement is important. So I have to involve them in the conversation improves buy-in. Do people want to speak here, or do you want to just write?
People can speak. We have a hand raised from Victoria again. So Victoria, I've unmuted you so you can share. Victoria, it looks like you're self-muted.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, now we can.
Walking away. I believe one of the reasons why I would love to engage with making the youth involved is just because we are in a society where, you know, I believe like our electronics are taking over, and I feel like a lot of times even though the youth are in the electronics, they're using a lot of, you know, their communication through writing or typing, or, you know, like almost like us doing the chat boxes and etc. But I feel like engaging with the youth gives an opportunity for us to get to know what they're going through in this time and age for them. Because for us, I mean, I'm in my early 30s, and my, you know, youth engagement was a lot different than it is for them. I mean, we didn't have phones then. There's just different things, and I think the engagement just to open and see the way they think or the way they see just our society, our world, I think it's very important. So that's why I would love to engage with the youth.
Great, thank you. Any other hands up?
I don't see any other hands up, but we did have some people write in, and I'd be happy to read their responses to you, since you said you were having trouble viewing the chat box. So Nicole shared that to involve them in the conversation improves buy-in over talking at youth. Merritt quoted, "Nothing about us without us," which is great. Michael shared that to build community leadership for genuine change. And Lola shared that today's youth are tomorrow's decision makers. Definitely true. And Shane shared that her mic isn't working, but she loves to engage youth because they aren't a lost cause after the age of 5, which is a great point. And then one more from Troy. He says he's come to find that oftentimes youth are being advocated for and decisions being made for them, and they are not consulted with. Most politicians that make legislative decisions about youth seem to have never talked to a youth. And then I believe this is Lita writing in that says the way we treat our youth today will be reflected on how they treat us when they are in charge of the world. All really great points brought up in the chat. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. Those were terrific. And just speak to the many benefits of why it's important to engage youth. So if you could go to the next slide, please. And just a few thoughts about, so engaging youth, I think can be challenging, but it's well worth it. And it's a win-win for everyone. Young people benefit by increasing their skills, building more connections, caring connections with adults, being more connected to their community. Adults benefit by really understanding what young people need and want. And my experience is that when you engage young people in your organization, it generally motivates your adults to be more committed and invested in the work. And then it obviously creates these intergenerational relationships. Organizations benefit because if you listen to young people and try to respond to what their needs and interests are, your organization will be more relevant to them. They're more likely to show up in your programming, especially as they get older. They tend to walk with their feet and they don't show up, but if it's relevant and engaging, they will. And then communities benefit because young people can be problem solvers and come up with some incredible solutions to today's problems that we face and improve our communities. So if I could have the next slide, please. So a few tips I wanted to, Lindsay asked me to offer a few quick tips to folks on if you want to move down this path of youth engagement and some things to think about. If you could go to the next slide, please. So I think the very first one to me, which is the most critical, is really questioning or understanding your beliefs around young people. And our beliefs drive how we behave and act. And so reflecting on how you see young people is really the first step of engagement. There is a tool offered in one of the handouts, in one of the resources that I'll have at the end, and you can actually take a little assessment to find out where you fall on this continuum of your beliefs. And the beliefs start with, you see young people as a recipient. Young people are objects that we have to do things to. Or do you see young people as a resource where we will do things for young people, but we view them as having gifts and talents and things that they bring to the table, but it's more still adults doing things for young people. And finally, the third level of how we see young people is around we're willing to work in partnership with young people. We see them, we're willing to share power with them, we see their gifts and talents, and we value them in a way where we want to work more in partnership. Next slide, please. The second set of tips, there's a whole bunch here. I'm going to kind of quickly go over these, and I'm going to dive into a few in the next slides. But the first is, before you go down this road around youth engagement, I would definitely take time to not only figure out what your beliefs are around young people, but also whether your staff is ready to move along that continuum. And if you remember the pyramid I showed at the beginning, as you go up the pyramid, you need staff that are willing to buy into this issue of sharing power with young people, seeing young people as having capacities and being able to contribute. So taking the time to do that, getting clear on why you want to engage young people, having that intentional conversation in your organization around what those benefits are. Be clear about how you want to engage youth, invest in training, both of the adults and helping equip young people to be engaged at higher levels, and then being flexible in order to respond to what youth are saying to you. So next slide, please. So just in terms of thinking about different ways to engage youth, I just am offering some concrete suggestions. And again, you have to take into account the age of the young person, and all of this has to be developmentally appropriate. But I have seen little kids being really engaged in appropriate ways. So just by the first one, helping in the classroom, just having young people take attendance or hand out stacks, but again, giving opportunities for young people to participate beyond receiving education or activities, but help engaging them in levels that are appropriate. And then moving up to other ideas, they can help plan. They can plan events or activities. They can help you evaluate how programs are going. There's an effort to have young people as grant makers. Sacramento has the Gabby board where young people give out grants to other young people. They could become project leaders. They could help you with social media and your marketing. They could be trainers, educators. They could start to advise you. They could sit as decision makers on your boards. And then again, they could become advocates for change in the community. So some thoughts on different ways to engage youth. Next slide, please. So training adults to go down this road, there's definitely a set of skills that adults need in order to engage young people effectively. And I would say, again, after the thinking about how you value young people, and if you see them as assets and you want to be in partnership with them, there's skills around how do you create partnerships with young people? How do you become an ally and an advocate for youth? In order to engage young people, you have to start with, does your program create emotional, physical, and cultural safety? And are you building relationships, caring, positive relationships with young people? Because if you're not doing those two things, it's very hard to engage youth. It's hard to engage youth, period, without at least providing that foundation of building trust and safety, honoring culture, letting young people, being in relationship with young people, getting to know your young people. Those are all foundational skills that need to happen in an organization before you move into the young people having voice, choice, and leadership. You know, are you willing to share power? What does it mean to be in partnership with young people? There's materials in the resources that talk a lot about youth adult partnerships and what that looks like. I would say the key skills, 3 key skills that I think are critical are using active listening skills with young people. Facilitation skills is a critical skill if you're working with young people in groups. You want to move away from directing groups to facilitating them, and becoming a strong facilitator of groups is critical. And then knowing your young people and knowing their culture. Next slide, please. So in addition to kind of training up adults, the other is equipping young people to take on increasing leadership roles. And again, because most of the work that I see happening with young people tends to be in group settings, it's important to help young people learn how to work in teams. I know a lot of times we put young people together in a group, but then we don't really train them on what are ways to have effective group work together. Helping young people learn to speak, to not only speak in public, but to be able to articulate for their own needs, to be able to speak just to an adult on what they need. Teaching problem solving, conflict resolution, and then any activity specific skills. And I love Franklin Roosevelt's quote about, we cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. Next slide, please. So I'm leaving you with a bunch of resources. The Free Child Project has a lot of good youth adult partnership resources. The Youth Adult Partnership Guidebook has that assessment that I mentioned to you, as well as incredible resources around youth adult partnerships. The Youth Development Network is a local organization that offers a lot of training around youth development. And if you go to their website, you can download a free guide that says the five key things that you can do as an organization to create emotional, physical, and cultural safety, how to build relationships with youth, how to create youth participation, how to engage youth in the community, and then how to build youth skills. And so it's a nice little short document that will give you five useful tips for each of those, what we call supports and opportunities. Next slide, please. And then I also am leaving you with some videos of young people talking about youth engagement, why it matters. The second one is advice to organizational leaders who want to increase youth engagement, advice from youth on how to do that. And then a little short video about young people, incredible young people around the world who are creating change in their communities. Let's see, I think we're now to questions. Yes. So I hope that was a useful overview. Glad to answer questions.
Can either raise your... Go ahead, Fern.
Oh, if you have questions, feel free to use the hand raise feature again, or to type them into the chat box and I can read them out to Bina. Does anyone have any questions? I haven't noticed any.
Oh, okay. So if there are no questions, that's great. We have a little activity to close this presentation, and then I wanted to spend a few minutes on a youth engagement project I'm working on around youth and mental health. So if there are no questions, then could we go to the last slide? Okay. So what we'd like to ask you now, just as a reflection, and I'd like to encourage you when you work with young people to always end your work with them, if you're doing a program with them, to end with a reflection activity. So this is one thing this is an activity we use a lot. And you can choose which one you want to answer, or you can answer all three of them in your chat box. But one thing you liked about what you heard today, one thing you might do as a result of what you heard today, or one question you might still have. We'll give you a minute or two to write some comments.
And while we have people, I'm sorry, Lindsay.
Oh, no, sorry. Bryn, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, while we have people typing in their responses and their reflections, we did have one question, which was, have you worked with foster youth, and was there anything you did to engage them specifically?
Yes, thank you for asking that. I had the opportunity many years ago to work with the county independent living program, and they were interested in figuring out how to engage their foster youth in terms of, I think, helping figure out how to make the program more relevant to the young people. And I helped them develop I worked with their foster youth actually directly, and we created an advisory group, which I think they call PAUSE, and I can't remember the name of the acronym, but it was a group of foster youth who came together to meet on a regular basis and provide input to the ILP program. And then I did also some other work. There was some foster youth involved in this, where we created a project called Remember Me, and it came out of some work with the Drug and Alcohol Advisory Board here in Sacramento County. And the young people were saying, we really want to, be able to share our needs and concerns of what's going on in our community with leaders in our community. And so it was a project called Remember Me. The youth created a series of dinners where they invited adult leaders to come in, and then they led facilitated conversations at the table. So there were youth and adults sitting at tables, breaking bread together over dinner. And it was always based on a topic. And there were, the adults had a chance to listen to the young people. And then at the end of the evening, we would kind of create a list of what young people felt solutions were, or concerns were around that topic. I hope that was helpful.
Great, thanks for sharing. We have a couple of people who have typed in their responses. We had a few say that they plan to check out the resources and share them with their agencies and share what they learned, which is great. We had someone say that they liked hearing the voice of youth as part of the presentation, and that it's always good to hear from those who are affected by the work we do in the field. And then Nicole wrote that she liked the interactive questions and will watch the videos. She also teaches community art classes, and she has many kids that are dealing with grief, developmental and mental health. What can she do for them during the shelter order? Is the question they still have. And then Troy, a question he still has is, what have you done that successfully got youth interested in whatever cause you're working on, and how did you keep them engaged over time?
Okay, so I'll do that last one first. My experience in terms of engaging young people is, I mean, if you really want it to be authentic, one is you have to have relationships with young people. And from those relationships, you can learn what their interests and passions are, what they feel their pain is. And I think and I tend to do a lot of work with trying to organize young people to be engaged more in policy advocacy work. But getting starting with what's important to them, and in terms of keeping young people together, I can just say it's a lot of just relationship building. I tend to, whenever I meet with a group of young people, I tend to do a lot of one-on-one follow-up afterwards to check in with them, to see how it's going, to make things fun. And again, when I work with young people, the more I can engage them as leading the groups and the meetings, and that often takes a lot of prep work with young people. So this is kind of getting into youth engagement 2.0, but it's well worth it. It's just, it does take a lot more time. And to the extent also that you can hire or have youth workers who are more closely in age with the young people you're working with, that's an even better scenario. So I'll stop there. I'm glad to have an offline conversation if you want to go deeper on that. And then the other person around the mental health, it'd be a good segue. I could talk a little bit about the mental health stuff we're doing with young people. If you want to switch to that.
Yeah.
Sure. So Lindsay, do you have the other? There we go. Thank you. So I have had the chance to be involved in this project just since January, actually, called Cities Rise. And it's a global initiative in 5 cities around the world. And Sacramento got picked to be one of those cities. And if you go to the next slide, I think I can. So it's in response to the concerns around mental health around the world and the high rates of suicide and depression. And so there's just some data if you're interested. Next slide, please. And the goal really is to activate young people to help them try to create and influence the environments and the services in their cities that would make mental health friendly cities for young people. So activating youth to push on policymakers and to be the solution, to provide solutions to creating mental health friendly cities. You can go to the next slide, please. These are the 5 communities that this initiative is working in: Nairobi, Chennai, Bogota, Sacramento, and Seattle. Next slide, please. And just a few things that this effort's doing. We had some funding to award to young people, innovations by young people on how they could improve mental health and well-being in their community. So we have 5 grantees in Sacramento, which I'll show you a slide in a minute about kind of some of the things they're doing. And so those grantees all were youth-led ideas on ways to improve mental health and well-being. And we are now kind of coaching them as they implement their projects. The other aspect was around creating a youth network. So we've convened young people in the community who we awarded 5 grants. We had about 20 organizations and with young people submit ideas. So we convened that group and are trying to figure out with them what they've asked for is they'd like to build their skills around talking about mental health. They want to do some advocacy around mental health, and they want to just create peer relationships with this group of young people that share this interest around mental health and well-being. The other thing we're doing, which I'd love to seek your help around, is we are just about to launch a youth survey to get the information from young people around how they are coping with COVID, being isolated in their homes, and what are their challenges, what are they doing to take care of themselves, what would they like to see from adults to help them kind of cope through this time. So that survey, I'd love to send to you guys if you're willing to give it to young people you know. The results will be published. It'll be across those 5 cities, but Sacramento will be able to pull out the information, and we'd be glad to share that back with you. And then we would like to use that to kind of refine how to support young people, both during this time but ongoing, in terms of their mental health and well-being. What we are hearing from young people right now, just we've been doing some interviews and having some conversations, is that a lot of our young people, well, obviously are feeling a lot of grief. They're going through grief. They've lost their social connections. They're not able to go to school. You know, teachers were a big, for many of our young people, teachers were kind of their stable, who they connected to from, you know, 8 to 3 every day, and they've lost, for a lot of them, they've lost those connections. Some of the young people we're talking to, you know, were seniors in high school, or are seniors in high school, and they're very sad that they're not going to have graduation. So if there's anything you can do to honor your seniors in high school and kind of celebrate with them, even virtually, the fact that they're graduating, hopefully in June or May. We have young people who, you know, obviously lost jobs and are having trouble getting food access, don't have access to computer and online services. Our young people, though, are being creative. They're connecting like we are via internet and social media. They're doing things like movie nights. They're together. They're playing songs together. They're playing games together. One thing we are doing is we've hosted a virtual, we call, the city of Sacramento runs things called pop-ups, which are generally Friday night activities for young people. And before COVID, they were in-person activities for young people. We've kind of been piloting with one of the pop-ups, a virtual pop-up. And so we had some young people on in a virtual meeting recently, on a Zoom meeting, and we had them into little breakout rooms. We had some young people doing charades. Some other young people were doing some other online game. We also, so there were 3 rooms of games, if you will, and then we had another room where we had a mental health worker available to talk with young people if they wanted to speak with someone in a more quiet place around how they were, what they were feeling, and getting some coaching to help with their mental health and well-being. So let's see, I think I will stop now, and if there are any questions about, well, actually one thing I will say is we are looking at trying to figure out how to create some online discussion groups for youth around particularly this youth network that we have, since we already have relationships with these 20 different youth groups who have young people engaged in our network. Doing some discussions with them around meditation and yoga and ways to deal with stress and learn about grief and how that works, so that they can better understand the feelings that they're having. So I will stop there and be glad to answer any questions.
There's one question in the chat box that's asked, does Cities Rise work in rural communities?
Right now, Cities Rise is just in those 5 cities. If you're interested in doing something like this, I'm glad to just chat with you offline about kind of what we're up to, and if there's some way for you to take some of that work into your community, that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. And then, Bina, I wonder if you talked about having one-on-one conversations with youth, and maybe reaching out to them via social media. But are there other ways or tips that you would mention to folks about just how to first get connected to youth to better understand what they need and what they're looking for as resources?
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like quite a few of you did not work directly with young people yet. So, I mean, it's kind of hard depending on if you really have no contact with young people right now versus if you're already in relationship with young people. So I think I would just probably, and again, I don't know the age group, but I would probably just start with a few young people and just having a conversation with them and checking in. You could do it one-on-one at first, do some like interviews, if you will, to find out what's going on in their world, what are things they would like to see, what support do they need. So maybe start with some one-on-one interviews. If you After you do that, you could then convene a few, even 3 to 5 young people and start talking with them about letting them share kind of where they're at and talking with them, brainstorming ideas with them. You could do surveys of if you're already running programs, you could survey young people to find out kind of what their interests and needs are, and use that survey to guide your work going forward. Those are just some tips.
Great. Does anybody else have any questions for Bina? The youth engagement. I'm wondering, Bina, what's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned that youth have taught you through your work? Whether it be like started a program and then once youth got input, you completely change things around, or if they like just advice that you've utilized in other programming. Is there something that sticks out to you that you've learned that's really improved the work from a youth?
I think I want to say that really high-end youth engagement is takes a lot of time and effort, but I think time and effort, one, to do a lot of that relationship building, to keep checking in with youth, to making sure they're ready and prepared to step up. But when they do, it's just so rewarding. And, you know, to me, the goal is it's kind of, it's a process. And if you can, at the end of the day, be standing more on the sidelines as an advocate and cheerleader, and young people are leading, I mean, that to me is like success. I think the program I probably am most proud of is a program we started in Sacramento called Summer at City Hall, and it started out pretty much adult-led, and it's a program where we invite young people to come to City Hall in the summer, and they get a 6-week experience learning about how government works, and they get to do internships in the afternoon in the summer. And year one, it was pretty much adult-led. And then at the end of the year, at summer, we decided that in order to strengthen the program and really be true to our values around youth engagement, we invited a handful of those young people to be what we call returning youth. And we engaged them pretty much right after the program ended and worked with them up throughout the year to help us design the next version of Summer at City Hall. And every year that program has gotten better because of these returning youth who continue to bring their viewpoints and their skills to make the program stronger. And so it's been operating for about 8 years. the program, and I would say it's not totally youth run. It is very much youth adult partnership. And I'm very proud of that program.
Great. So you said it's been really helpful to have the same youth come back and provide input of what is working and what could be improved on. Besides, is it they're coming back because that's part of their agreement, or are they coming back because they're learning more? I just wonder, do you change the programming up so much, and that's why they keep coming back, and it's still what they're interested in, and that's true because you evaluated them, or what do you think is the secret of them keeping coming back?
So on that program, the returning youth are generally, they're the youth from the prior summer. So I think there are a few youth who actually have become employed by the program who, might have been 2 or 3 summers ago. So, I think that thinking about how do you build, I call them ladders of leadership, so steps of leadership for young people. So first we had a program that was pretty much adult driven, and then we created a step called returning youth. And then those youth helped advise the second year of the program. And then ideally, there's another step on top of that, which is hiring these youth to actually work in the program. And then the third step is actually getting those youth hired by the city to become part of a pathway into, let's say, the recreation department. Some of our young people who were part of summer at City Hall and then became returning youth and applied to be on the city youth commission. So it's figuring out kind of different ways to keep engaging young people as their skills develop. Maybe it's not in your program anymore. Maybe it is on an advisory group, or maybe it's becoming a leader in other ways in the community. So just thinking about, I think of it as pathways to leadership. And a lot of it is, they had a good experience, so they wanted to come back, partly because they really created some relationships with some of the other young people, so that was a draw to them. And the other is they liked the program, so they wanted to give back to it. We do pay them stipends for being returning youth, so they do get financial benefit as well. They get to meet a lot of very cool adults who can help them kind of in their careers.
So mentorship and making connections throughout their next steps of their life, not just that single summer, and focusing on how it grows and how they can grow with the program, and grows opportunities for them within their community and for their future. Sounds like that was really great and what brought them about, and just having those connections and again support. So making those relationships where people can lean on each other, talk to each other, and support each other to build up the program, but also build their own experiences and skills to help support their lives and ultimately improve their communities. Sounds like it's kind of hits all those key notes. So that's a really great program. Thank you for sharing that. I think, do you guys have, do you also create strong partnerships with other organizations? I heard you say it might not be within your own program where they see the next step, but so do you work, and how do you get the word out about your program to other to partners, or do you do partners with other organizations, I guess, and how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, really good youth development is all about creating webs of supports and opportunities around young people. So if you think about it, your organization likely cannot provide every need and opportunity a young person needs. So it's critical to have partnerships with other organizations, partly to provide the support young people need. So if you're a recreation program, let's say, and your young people need academic support, or they need mental health support. It's important for you to have those partnerships so you can kind of refer your young people to those other services and opportunities. And so I think having strong partnerships with other agencies is critical. And thinking about, if you think about how you can guide your young people into other opportunities beyond your program to meet whatever developmental needs and interests they have, I think that's another important part of youth engagement. It isn't always just about the youth voice piece, but it's helping to create connections for young people so that they can continue to advance in their development.
Great. Thank you so much, Bina. And maybe you have some more words of wisdom about this, but I wanted to go back to what Nicole about helping support kids' mental health during this time. And so I heard you talk about, stress release related activities, whether it be yoga, which I know Nicole and others are doing, like physical activities. And this question can open up Bina, but others on the call as well, if you found resources or activities that you think have been really helpful to support kids' mental health during this time, would love to hear about it. You can raise your hand or put it in the chat box. But Bina, if you are, if you have any idea about supporting kids' mental health through this time, that'd be great.
I think the very number one thing that we could all be doing is checking in with our youth. If you run a youth program, making calls once a week at least to your young people, checking in, how are they doing, what's going on, what do they need support with? Because our young people are feeling very isolated, and the lack of not having the structure of school. What I'm hearing from young people is like they're staying up all night and sleeping all day because they no longer have structure in their lives. For the most part, I mean, some have families that are helping create structure for them, but so to me, number one is checking in with your young people and really listening to them. And then I think those are the two most critical. And then, if we can provide activities and opportunities that they can do online, whether it's creative stuff or whether it's even learning materials. A lot of our young people don't have the language around mental health and well-being. Like if they're feeling sad, that they might not know that that's sadness. Like a lot of young people are feeling grief right now, and so they might not understand what the grief process is. So sometimes helping young people put words to feelings. I will say the Sac County Office of Ed on their website does have some really great materials. They actually have a video with our county mental health director talking about ways adults can support youth during this time in the mental health sphere. And then they have a bunch of online resources for families around social emotional learning and mental health tips. So that would be the Sac County Office of Education website.
Great, thank you. We had people chime and say, yeah, they agree they're going to be starting doing weekly calls with their families. We had Lola say the grief piece is so important. And so, yes, please take a look at those resources. And I think just the consistency too of having activities to do, something to look forward to, adding to that structure, like Bina said, that they can have their daily or weekly activities and time that they can see each other, that you can coordinate. That's really great work that I know that is going on. And then Nicole, also, I'll make sure to pull all these resources that are being mentioned and listed in an email, but Nicole put in some time capsule provides activities and promote mindfulness in the link to that. And then Judy said, it seems that we might maintain ritual practices within families to ensure to continue to learn from our own cultures. So providing resources to the parents, it sounds like, too, to help build that structure, because they are taking on that extra responsibility. So anything that can support parents so they can implement structure within their daily lives would be helpful too. So yeah, if anybody has other resources or tips, please either raise your hand or share them. But I just wanted to thank Bina again for providing us that great presentation, really great advice and tips. And really, if you want, the Cities Rise program sounds great, and it sounds like it could be a lot of great useful information for our folks too. So if you want to share that survey with me, I can get it out, and then I'll definitely share the results too with everybody, so we can see what we've learned from those results and how we can incorporate and how we can improve the work that we're doing to support the families during COVID-19. So thank you again, Bina. Really appreciate your time. It was great.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if anyone wants to try a virtual pop-up activity with young people, we've written up how we did ours, and I'd be glad to share that. It should be finalized pretty soon. I could share that
Great.
with you.
Yeah, that's
I think it was fun hanging out with you guys. Appreciate it. I'm gonna stay on and listen to Kim Williams and her young person.
And we have, thank you again. We have Kim with us, and then Kim is going to join us in a little bit.
Yeah, I am here. I just don't have access to the webcam, but I am here.
Oh, great. Oh, yeah, I see that you're listening. All right, thanks, Ray. Thank you so much, and thanks, Kim. And I'm sorry, we're gonna just take, if everybody wants just to take just 2 minutes really quickly, 2-3 minutes, we'll come back at 12:20, and we'll jump into to Kim talking about her youth ambassador and program and the work that they're doing on a census. But let's give everybody a chance just to stretch your legs, grab a glass of water or a bite to eat, and then we'll come back together in 2 minutes. Just want to say hi, Kim. Is everything going all right? I can't hear you. There's a mic, the control panel, there's a microphone under audio. Is it red? If red means mute, green means unmute. No. It might be better to call by phone maybe if you can't
Yeah, if you call
hear.
us, that'll be better.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I have a question. Do you have, I believe, the access code? Because I have the app on my phone, but it's not allowing me to sign in because it says the access code is invalid.
Can you? Let me see. Do you mind telling me your email address really quickly?
It is ARAIYETH@gmail.com. Again, ARAIYE. Huh?
Sorry, P as in Paul?
No, ARAIYETH. T as in Thomas.
Oh, TH, got it. Okay, great.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Kat. Thank you. We will email you a link right now. Hold on one. And everybody just give us one more minute. We're just fixing some tech right now. All
It
right.
was weird. It was working fine earlier. Hate
Right.
technology.
I know.
What's going on?
There's always something, but thank you so much, Kim, for joining us, and thanks to Ray for joining us as
No
well.
problem.
Ray, Lola, I sent you privately Ray's email address, so if you could send her a link, then she could join as well.
You just sent it?
Yes. So we are I think, Lola, were you able to send the link?
It's not showing up in my inbox yet.
Okay, we're working on it. Okay.
Lindsay, this is Judy. And REA, the access code is 316-628-410.
Yeah, I've been inputting that and it says it's invalid. But I mean, it's okay as long as y'all don't mind that I don't have the video. I mean, she could come to my office, but we won't be able to social distance. Yes, if I put her 6 feet behind me, you could probably see her.
That's okay. Let's keep everybody safe. It's all right. If Lola or somebody could send Ray her the link, a new link that might be helpful to her inbox, or maybe Brandon can send this to you, and then we'll just get started. Okay. Well, we'll move on. We'll appreciate Kim and Ray joining us by phone and by video conferencing. Really appreciate it. They're with building healthy communities, and Kim is the executive director or the manager for the healthy communities here in Sacramento, doing amazing things, including working with Ray and other youth for a youth ambassador program. And I thought it'd be really great to bring them on, especially because they have they built a program around the census. And so wanted to hear, I think it'd be helpful to hear about how to build a program with youth from start to finish, and just the different tactics that they've taken to ensure that youth are engaged and in a meaningful way, like we've heard. So I'll just kick it off to Kim and Ray to get started. And again, really appreciate you being here, and take it away.
Hello, everyone. We are happy to be here today. Sorry, we've been feeding folks in our community. So we every day about from 11:30 to 12:30, we've been helping feed the folks in our community that are really in need right now. So we're a little kind of running in. So excuse us if we're a little disheveled. But we're actually excited to talk a little bit about what we've been doing with the census. We took on our role last year, really trying to build a opportunity for young people to, really get involved in the census for this year. We know that teenagers aren't necessarily always interested in this issue. Don't necessarily know what it's really about. And quite honestly, especially a lot of our communities that are more challenged have a tendency, there's a lot of trust issues around things like that. So we thought it would be a wonderful opportunity for us this year to spend some time doing just more education and outreach on the census, and really giving young people the opportunity to early understand and know what that is. So our purpose for the work that we're doing with the census really is around outreach and education for our young people. How do we get them to understand the importance of it? How do we get them to understand why, how it directly impacts them, and how they can actually be a voice to their parents to help encourage parents to or family members or guardians be able to participate. So that's kind of what we've really been looking at. So what we've been doing around the work is our target population really has been high school, middle school kids, really trying to reach young people who may not necessarily always be able to understand what's happening. Also being able to reach those kids that are what we consider kind of hard to reach. Like I think that is very important for us to be able to really understand what's going on.
I think if everybody can make sure they're on mute, that'd be helpful. We're just getting a little bit of feedback, but all right. Sorry, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem. I was like, ooh. So really trying to understand. So our specific age group really is around high school, middle school kids. Really our communities that we're focusing on are the hard to count communities, are a lot of our communities of color, making sure that we're really getting information to them and really targeting that age group. And so, and then, around their skills and interests, it's because we're around outreach and education, it really is, how do we make it fun? How do we make it interesting? And that's been the biggest thing we've been focusing on at this point. And then understanding that our young people, we really had to work with, and I'll have Ray talk a little bit about how we really wanted to co-lead the work with our young people, because when we started having conversations with just smaller groups of young people that we just work with in general, there was some challenges even getting those kids to embrace what we were trying to do, because a lot of them, quite honestly, they just didn't get it. And so it really took me doing some real good research on the different types of things that were funded that particularly interested young people, and so that they could realize like how this really impacted them if funding wasn't there. And once we began to really talk about it from that perspective, we were able to get our young people on board with us to really start working with us, and really kind of which led us into really working together to set up our structure and the expectations around what we wanted to do. And I'd ask Ray if she wants to jump in and just kind of talk about her experience with helping us get to the point we're at now and being able to co-lead the work with us. I think you're still on mute. Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
Nope, we can't hear you.
Turn up your phone.
All right, what about now? Yes, we can hear you.
All right, perfect. All right, hello everyone. My name is Ray Thomas Haysbert. I am with the Sacramento BAC Youth Leadership Team as well as the Youth Engagement Action Team, and I work within the school districts in the area. So we're on like Hiram Johnson's campus as well as Burbank, and a majority of our youth who have been working with us have been from those campuses. And we have been basically giving them the ability to run the program on their own and give them a real sense of leadership by being able to like construct the program. Yes, we do have like adult leaders who help us out, but they usually allow us to see how we want the program to be led. I'm sorry, I don't know if I answered your question. I'm kind of like rambling, but can you repeat my bad?
Just maybe just share with everyone how the process in which you guys started to build the campaign you wanted to work on, and because that was youth-led, how youth voice was important in doing that.
Are you talking about changing the narrative campaign, or are you referring to the census work?
Yeah, right, because all that came out of the census summit you all attended.
Yeah, so we went to a summit by, I believe it was SCOE, and they basically want us to come up with ideas surrounding like mental health as well as census work. So we basically were drawing down the ideas that we've been doing with our youth engagement action team, which is the Change the Narrative campaign that we've been working on, because we realized that there was a lot of negative stereotypes and stigmas against youth of color in South Sacramento as well as other areas. So we wanted to bridge the gap together. So basically, with this census work, we've been also like, can you hear me? I'm sorry. Yeah, that's basically it. I apologize. I'm rambling.
Thank you, Ray. So we wanted to build this together. So when our young people had a chance to go to the youth summit that SCOE hosted, this gave them an opportunity to be in a space with a lot of other young people and really start talking about the issues. And for them, the issue around mental health services for young people really resonated with them. And so they began to build a campaign really around, which they're actually still working on, around that particular issue, knowing that mental health services are programs that are funded through census dollars. And so as we begin to take, the ideas that they had and really start, how can we be creative and engaging with our young people and getting them really, kind of excited about the census. And so we had a whole plan. I have to admit, we had a whole plan together that really got derailed when the COVID-19 hit and shelter in place took place. Our whole plan was built around schools and outreach, after school programs and school programs during the school day. And when that got derailed, we had to really kind of go back to the drawing board. So we've actually spent the last couple of weeks really restructuring the program. And so we're going, of course, to an all digital format, but how we're trying to really keep our young people engaged is through our youth ambassador program. And so we currently have about 5 young people right now, with the room for a few more to be youth ambassadors. And basically what they're going to be doing is they're going to be the messengers around census. So they are currently, matter of fact, I just did a podcast yesterday with some of the youth that we're going to post up talking about the census and how young people can get involved. They're working on a social media, an actual contest that we're going to have young people be able to participate and share their ideas and thoughts around what the census is and what it means, why it's important, using whatever medium they want. So if they want to sing it, they want to dance, they want to write about it, they want to spoken word or rap about it, it's perfectly fine. We just want to get young people, while they're not in school, maybe give them an opportunity to do something fun while also learning about and teaching each other about the census. And we have cool prizes too. Little gift cards and swag and things like that they'll be able to win. But the young people are working and developing this. They'll be pushing it out. We've also looked at how do we create informational material in a way that speaks to young people as well. So all those things are hitting now, and just really being creative as possible, giving our young people the opportunity to talk to us and tell us exactly what it is they would like to, how they best feel their peers, especially with using technology more so now, how their peers want to learn and hear about this. We even had one of our 15-year-old ambassadors wrote this really amazing op-ed on youth census and why it's important. On the census and why it's important to youth. So we're really working to get them engaged. I have a staff person, Shakia, who's working with the ambassadors and just really getting that program off the ground and restructuring it and finding new and creative ways to keep our young people engaged, because we know there's a lot, I heard Bina mention earlier about a lot of them are just kind of checked out a little bit and sleeping all day, staying up at night. So we've got to figure out some other ways to get their attention and how we can do that. And so I don't know, Ray, if you want to share some of the other creative things that you guys have done to engage our young people. I know you guys, specifically what you guys did on the campuses that were happening.
Yeah. On Hiram Johnson's campus, to be specific, we did like pop-ups during lunch. So we would bring swag and information like little post-its and stuff just about census and what it is. And we will have some of our young people come at lunch as well and give out some information, because we found that when they're getting information from their peers, they like it a lot more because it's youth that look like them telling them information. And we also do like social media, like Instagram. We do lives and stuff like that, so we can still be engaged with our youth even though we can't physically be in person with them. Due to coronavirus, a lot of our stuff has slowed down, but we're like figuring out different creative ways to still spread awareness in our hard to count communities with our youth.
Thank you. And so, you know, again, having to kind of step back a little bit and evaluate how to do the work. What's been really good has been that the young people have actually been pushing us, saying, "Hey, we need to meet. Can we get on a Google Hangout? Can we get into a Zoom call because we gotta, you know, the stuff we need to be doing." So. Our young people have been kind of pushing us to move quicker, and we've been responding to that. So, like I said, we've already got a couple of things that have already been pushed out. We're anticipating the contest should be ready to go next week, so you guys will probably see it. We'll probably try to push that out to everybody so you can push it to your young people. We're gonna have prizes in there. Gift cards for cash, things like that, so that we, you know, we got to keep them interested in getting them involved in what's happening. So they like to win things, so there's nothing wrong with that. And then, of course, we'll be posting those things via social media so people can see some of the creative things our young people are doing to spread the word about this as well. That's pretty much it for us. I don't know if anyone has any questions for us. Oh, I noticed someone asked about sharing the op-ed. Yes, we plan to. If it doesn't, we're hoping it gets picked up by the SACB. If for some reason it doesn't, then we will be sharing it out ourselves, because we definitely want to make sure that we get the information out and also share her words with everybody. So ideally, if we can, if it doesn't get picked up, we'll definitely be sharing that out for everybody else to be able to see. So when we share it, I can send it to Lindsay and she can send it out to this group. I can also, we'll also post it on our BHC page and things like that.
Thank you so much. It seems that we've just had a couple more questions about how they can access this information, but you just answered that, so thank you for that. And just a reminder to everyone in the audience that the PowerPoint and everything, all the resources we've been talking about will be shared after the meeting. And a recording will be on our YouTube page. So if there aren't any other questions, Lindsay, we'll go back to you. And Lindsay, it looks like you're self-muted in case you're trying to talk.
Sorry about that, everybody. I was, for some reason, having difficulty with my control panel. But Kim, I'd like to ask you a question if you're still there.
Yeah,
Great.
sorry.
No, sorry about the delay, everybody. I was having a little difficulty, so I apologize. But wanted to talk a little bit about the so when you guys how have you benefited? How has your organization benefited from having youth running the program for the census work? Have you seen any like different changes? Has it changed your ideas about how you approach other programming? Just want to see if you guys had, from all the great work that you're doing, some key takeaways from the program, from the Youth Ambassador Program.
Ray, did you want to share? Okay, so while Ray's figuring out her phone, my background, my history has always been in youth development. And so for me, I don't believe in doing anything with young people or for young people without young people being involved. It's very important for when you're going to do things with young people that, you have to know exactly, what they want to do. I can't create something for a young person if I haven't gotten their input on, what it is that's going to interest them, especially when you're talking about things that, things like the census. So what it really did for us is, for example, I had this whole idea about an essay contest, and I was like, oh, we can do an essay contest and the kids can submit essays and they all looked at me like, nobody trying to write an essay, Kim. And I, in my head, it sounded great. They shot my little idea down real quick. But I think, and then they came up with no, well, how come we can't have people do this? And people should be able to do this and be creative. And so I just closed my mouth and let our young people tell me what it is that was interesting to them. And I think sometimes we don't give our young people enough credit and enough opportunity to show us what they're capable of. And I promise you, every time I've given young people the opportunity to lead, they have done amazing work, and especially when they have the support of adults who stand behind them and support them, they do amazing work. And so for us, it just really changed how we viewed the work, and it allowed us to say, let's step back and let our young people show us what it is they want. So, Ray?
I would say you definitely see a change in the enthusiasm of the youth, because they're like, this is for us, by us, so this is everything that we want. A lot in youth leadership, not to throw any shade, but adults tell us what we need to be doing or what we should do, and not really giving us the opportunity to see for ourselves through trial and error. So because of that, yeah, we go through our hardships, but we still, we still developed it by ourselves. So it's amazing for us. It makes us feel good.
Oh, nice. Love that. And then I'd love to maybe talk a little bit more about the pop-ups. So for other groups, if they would be interested in doing something like that, how were your organization, both the community involved in helping support the youth do pop-ups, and what type of pre-work did you have to do with the schools or with other organizations to make sure that they went well, and word about the census got out and the schools were okay doing that type of activity on their campus?
If you don't mind, I'll go first. Yeah, but I have a MOU through AmeriCorps. Well, I work with AmeriCorps also, so I had an MOU already through the school district to get on campus, so it was pretty easy for me. And we also have Black Child Legacy Campaign on campus, so we just kind of use the two programs to just get a little wiggle room and start talking to some APC, some after-school program coordinators, as well as some people in the disciplinary portion of the school, and just seeing who we can connect with so they can know about us, that we're on campus. And then they allowed us to do a lunch, and then ever since then we've been going, well, when the school was still open, we were going every other Wednesday and just sitting out there, and then youth would just come up to the table and just ask us questions because they wanted to know what we were doing, and they wanted the opportunity to come win some swag, and they seen their peers around the table hyping it up. So, yeah.
Great. Have you done pop-ups outside? Oh, go ahead, Kim.
So I just wanted to add, I should have mentioned this earlier. Part of the youth subcommittee, it's not just BHC. It's about 7 or 8 other youth organizations. So Saxon Unified School District is at the table. Pro Youth and Families is at the table. IYT was at the table. We had Wind Youth Center. We had Boys and Girls Clubs. We had ACE and a couple of other folks there. So our partners also allow, as we do the work, our partners are also involved. So using the relationships that we all have at the different school districts and things like that allowed us to be able to access school campuses and things like that as we needed.
Great. And then, you guys have talked about doing media outreach, social media. Is there other plans to do, whether it be censorship or not, other plans virtually to help people stay connected and engaged, or help the youth stay connected and engaged?
So we right now, social media has been the big piece. Our youth ambassadors have started meeting on Fridays, and so they've been talking about doing like the individual PSAs to send out. We have been talking about trying to do some kind of Instagram live thing that will encourage young people to sign up. We still got to work all that out. So they've been trying to be real creative and really think of different ways to do things. Not so much print material, but maybe looking at trying to get run maybe ads on some music stations that the kids still listen to, for those that still listen to radio, buying sponsor ads on some of the social media channels and having some things and then have it go zip codes and things like that it would just pop up in their feeds and they would see it that way. So right now, it's really trying to figure out how creative we can get on social media and technology.
Great. And then we have this question come up, and maybe you two might have some insight on this. What work or what advice did you provide the group around ensuring that we're supporting our youth around mental health? There's a lot of stress and uncertainty around COVID-19. And so maybe what impacts have you been seeing in youth or with your peers? And then do you have any advice on how we can help support to limit the stress around all the changes that we've been having to deal with sheltering in place?
I would say, for me, my organization has done real good at providing tools for self-care. So I would encourage you to ask your youth, what do they do for self-care? And if they're not, sure, or if they don't really know what self-care is, just ask them, what do you do when you get angry or when you get frustrated to calm yourself down? Or, what do you like to do? What are some hobbies, just figuring out some different self-care options, because that's always worked for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've had a couple of meetings, like Zoom meetings, go-to meetings with our young people, and we just, we kind of we took a time to pause and say, hey, before we even get started on business or anything else, just how are you? And give them the space to check in. And I'll be honest, we as the adults, we said even before the call started that if any of our young people are dealing with some issues, then that takes precedence over any business we needed to discuss. So we spent probably the first hour. We actually ran out of time, but it was okay because what we needed them to know was that we were there for them. With so much uncertainty happening right now, with their the things that they normally deal with on a day-to-day basis changing, we needed to find out what they need, you know, and finding out some of my kids needed, you know, they just needed food even. So how do we make those kinds of things happen? So really creating a safe space for them to be able to know that they can share if something comes up and it's not on that they know they can pick the phone up and call us or send us an email and that we're going to respond to them. But checking in is really important, even if it's just a text, like, you know, like if I haven't seen one, like, hey, you okay? I haven't seen you in a while. You know, is everything good? And so that they just know, like, they care, somebody out there cares about what's happening to me. And that right there helps get them back engaged, because it's like they realize these adults, they don't just work with me because they're paid to be here. They work with me because they care about me. And so checking in with them as much as you can is very important. When you do have meetings, and you know, we get creative because, you know, everyone's phones are different. Some have video web cameras that work really well, some don't. Some can only do audio, and so we just getting real creative. I've been trying to figure out how to get Chromebooks for some of them, just so they can stay connected. But it's you know, it's us having to do the work we need to do to make sure they're okay.
Great, thank you. It's really great advice. All right, is there any other questions for Kim or Ray? Really appreciate you guys sharing the work that you're doing and, around the census and the work that you're doing with the community at this time, and supporting families and making sure people stay connected. And so I know you guys are busy, so really appreciate you sharing with us and spending some time with us. So please, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat box. But if there's no more questions for folks, yeah, I just think thanks. We'll just say thanks again. For
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Great. So we just have quickly, we have one more learning community, like we said, and we'll have more information around this for next time, but we are changing up learning communities, not through strategies in OCAP anymore. So just let you know, the fourth one will be the last one with me, but we'll talk about learning communities together and moving forward with a different strategy. And I want to, but so for next time, if we could do another little activity in the meantime for homework, and what is the benefit of youth engagement to your organization? Just again, observe first and see your youth engagement efforts in your organization. Then identify what benefits that you see, identify the benefits to your organization through the outreach and engagement that you're doing to youth. Take a note and bring it back. I want to make it really simple and easy, but also provides a lot of great insight and best practices and conversation around engagement. And if your organization doesn't currently engage in youth, maybe just think of what benefits you either see through others, or you think that your organization would, how it would benefit or improve the work that you do, or improve the way that you engage with your community. I will send this out with everybody. So you'll have the homework assignment with you, all the great resources. Thank you everybody for sharing the resources around youth engagement, but also around supports and resources for sheltering in place during this health crisis. Really appreciate it and know that it's so needed, how we can fill the void and stay connected while we're still in the safety of our own homes. And so we'll send all of that out with this slide deck for information, as well with contact information, especially for Bina. I know she's really wanted to stress to me that she would love to be a resource to anybody. So if you wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with her or talk more deeply about getting training for your youth or getting training for your adults, and getting that set up appropriately, she'd be happy to do so. I think that's one of, that was a big takeaway for me, is just making sure that there are specific trainings involved, and for getting prepared and working together with youth, and youth working together with adults to build some great impacts within communities and great programs that really make a difference in youth lives as well as the community. So she'll be there available for that, and I'll send that contact information with the email. And then we usually always have an evaluation at the end where we fill it out by paper. So to continue with evaluating the learning community's work, an evaluation sheet will be sent to you automatically or electronically. And so if you could just take a few minutes, provide some feedback, we would really appreciate it if you can complete those evaluation forms. So thank you everybody for a really great session today. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me, or again, put anything in the comments if you have any questions or any needs. And I think we'll just say stay safe, stay indoors, and hope that our next learning community in June will be in person, and we can have continue to have more great conversations in person, but also put all digital savviness to work and continue supporting us communities online as well. So thank you again, and have a good rest of your day.
Hi, it's Judy. Lindsay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Do you want to wait a moment and check in, or are you ready to go?
Yes, we can wait a moment. Let's give it a moment for people to jump.
Sure.
Hi, this is Michael. I'm on the line too.
Michael.
Hey, sorry, that was me saying hi, pups. I didn't realize didn't have my mute on.
No, you're fine. Yeah, and I don't know what's happening, and I don't know if this has been something that other people have experienced, but it was weird. My screens would go semi-transparent, and then I wasn't able to access my control panel. That happened to me. Well, 2 times Brent had to give me back, take access and give it back to me for me to get access. And then the 3rd time it went transparent for a moment, but then it switched on its own. I'm not quite sure. And it was when the screen was, I was having no activity. It was when speaker was training and the slideshow was up. I'm not sure if that was just me, an issue with my computer, or if that's been something that's happened before, but I just wanted to flag that.
Bryn, do you have any input to that?
I do not. There didn't seem to be anything wrong on my end, but it did seem to go back to normal when I took the thing away and gave it back. So at least
Did you know that Lindsay was, could you tell that Lindsay was off or from your side or not?
It still looked like she was still the presenter. I could still see her screen. I didn't have any visible issues.
And I could still.
So I noticed, Lindsay, that your picture was gone. I could see your screen, but your face wasn't there. I couldn't see you.
when people were presenting, I took my camera off so they could just focus on the presenter and not
Okay.
have,
All right.
but yeah, and I'm not sure because I could still, my controls allowed me to go back and forth, like switch slides. But if I try to click on my control panel at all, it wouldn't acknowledge the control panel. It just act like if I was clicking to go forward or backward on the screen. So anyhow, it might have been, it's something, maybe it's just something specific to me and my computer, but just wanted to flag that.
Well, I want to say that you put together a really powerful agenda, and everybody was so prepared, and you were really prepared. I just having the follow-up and being ready to ask questions if there weren't any in the group, and it was just very thoughtful, Lindsay, and I thought you did. It was a great job, and Bryn and I were texting a little bit. It went so smoothly. Up until that was the only glitch really. And I love the way you came in, Bryn, and would give people direction around the polls and read what was in the chat and kind of keep that piece together. So it was really a great partnership, both of you. You did a great job.
Yeah, thank you, Bryn.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. There's
Go ahead, Michael.
There's a lot of license to be glitchy on the first run, but you just really set a good standard, and it'd be important to capture anything that you made look easy, but you had to give attention to that your colleagues might want to pay attention to.
Yeah, if you send anything to me, I can send it to the group because I was planning to do a follow-up. First, all virtual learning community, a success. So if there's any tips that you want me to include in that, I'm happy to do that. And for you too, Bryn, if there was something that you think should be added, you guys could just send me a little email and I'll send it out.
Yeah, I think it went really smoothly. I'm glad that we took the time last week to sort of go over the features together so you knew what to expect. I thought the slides you included about like, oh, here's how you access this, here's how you do that. I really appreciated that. And I think that the participants did too. So thank you so much for including those. Those were great.
Yeah, I already made a note to add that because they were. And I also, Michael, I was thinking for the CFR call on Friday to add some slides about that, how to participate. That was just really, really well done. And I know some of the other facilitators have included those things in theirs, but can't hurt to redo. And I have the PowerPoint, Lindsay, so you don't have to resend all of that. I can just cut those preliminary, the first 10 slides that you put in, or maybe it's more than that. You did it after the objective, so first 15 slides, just so people can see what you did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback. The presenters were great. I was really excited to have Ray just talk. And I thought the video of the youth talking about engagement and from their perspective was really powerful. And I think that just maybe do a little thinking tonight around getting more. It seemed we usually have a lot of questions and a lot of discussion, and I don't know if it's just because it's a different format or the way it was structured didn't really lend to having a lot of discussion at the end. But I don't know if you guys have insight or input on, it just seemed that there was a lot less questions than we usually have.
I actually thought for this environment, especially at the first speakers, there were a lot of questions for her. They're kind of less for the second couple, and I'm not sure why. Maybe, end of the event or whatever. It also seemed like from the poll that not a lot of a small percentage of the organizations are actually doing youth work. So what was presented around the census was practical and maybe less applicable to folks if they're not already engaged with youth. So that may be one of the reasons.
Great.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, I think your summaries are always very substantial, and you tie together what we heard from the presenters and ask them questions. So it'll be interesting to see who does their homework this time. I love that you do homework, and because it's very specific to youth engagement. So you might have to read, like you always do, reach out. Hi, Bryn. I could put my camera on, but I need a haircut really bad.
That's why my hair.
I cut my own like 3 days in.
Oh, a brave woman you are.
Yeah, I cut my own. I mean, I've been cutting my own bangs for years now, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to cut like 5 inches off. Well, I intended to just trim it, but then I was, cutting my own hair, so I cut off a bit more than expected.
Looks good.
Yeah, mine's kind of wild. Yeah.
I'm about to let my partner cut my hair for sure.
We all have developed some new skills. I kind of cut mine too, which is why I really need a haircut because it's kind of sticking out here.
One thing is that people were really focused on wanting to talk about resources for right now with the COVID stuff. So I think that's a great, even though the talk, and maybe you have different insight about the other learning communities, but it just seemed like no matter what your topic is, they're going to want to link it back, tie it back to how it's going to help them right now, because we're such in an unprecedented time that people are like grasping at anything to help support their communities and their work. So that would be something that I'll put in my notes, that I think that's what, people really wanted to dive a little bit more into.
Yeah. Lindsay, did you get the notice about the CFRA call on Friday?
The what call?
From CFRA, that there's going to be kind of a sort of a town hall sort of call for, I'll forward it to you, to talk about what innovations in FRC's response to COVID-19.
Okay, great.
And it's a follow-up from that Friday, yeah. It's a follow-up to a really great call that CFRA had a couple of weeks, it'll be 2 weeks ago Friday, where it was just rich. And so having it really focused and inviting more people and having more people involved, I think is going to respond to the comment that you just made. But I think it's another point that's important to send out to the facilitators about their upcoming events, to make sure everybody leaves some time for that.
Yeah.
Jen from CFRA I know Jen from CFRA was on the learning community today, and she was texting me. She's like, "Oh, I'm getting some like really good ideas for things we can talk about, things to have in mind for the call on Friday." So it's
great. That's great.
Really good.
Thank you. And so could I send it out to this learning community group to listen in?
Of course. Of course. Okay. Oh yes. The more the better. I'll shoot it to you right now.
Okay, thank you. I think
I have it open.
especially like
I'm gonna,
Nicole's so great, and I wish hopefully we answered her question about support, especially around mental health. I think that's a really important question.
I'm gonna send it to all the facilitators. So.
Great, thank you. Is there anything else? I'm not sure I'm sure it was on my end, but I'm not sure where the confusion about the time is. But do you think 2.5 hours is a good amount of time? I think
For
it's
what?
the time, amount of time that we
Oh,
had. I'm just trying to be.
I thought it. Well, you were right on your agenda. I mean, you're pretty amazing about that. It's like 2 or 3 minutes off, but yeah. So you've really got good control of it. What do you think? Do you think it was enough time?
Yeah, because when I was putting this together, I worried about having people on for 3 hours just because that sounded like a lot, and we're already on our phones and our computers so much now. So I just wanted it to be a little more condensed, but just really impactful, and just kept it moving so we wouldn't lose people. But it also felt like it went really quickly, which I think is good. But I just wanted to see what you all thought about the amount of time that we spent with presenters and just having it be 2.5 hours. What did you think about that?
I think it was a good amount of time. I don't think you could have really stretched out any longer without just completely losing people, because again, we're all sitting at our desk and at our computers all day. But I think you broke it up really well to make sure there was always, around the time where people would start to nod off, you brought someone new in, or we changed topic, we did an activity that was a bit more engaging. So I think you did a good job with that. I think it was a good timing.
Thank you. Okay.
I thought it went pretty quickly, actually. I guess now that you're asking, I'm not sure what the content would be, but it was really great having youth voice. And so that was, you spent less time on that one and more time with Dina. I think my attention was starting to run out with Dina. It was incredible stuff. But again, the fact that there were less a percentage of people who were actually doing youth engagement now, her content was overall more appropriate for people who aren't doing it yet, because she was motivating about how to reach out to youth beyond just working with their family. So, it's kind of a both and, but I mean, for me, it went pretty quickly, and I'm still here, so I think that's indication that it's a great topic. But I suspect that it was about the right amount of time. Some of the facilitators are scheduling 3-hour gigs this time, and for them, it's their last one. I think Barb DeGraff's even thinking about having a 5th one, because she wants to cover the topic more fully and doesn't feel like she can do it in one sitting. So I think we're going to see our own innovations in terms of how to manage the learning communities. And when we meet on the 29th, which I hope you've got to save the date for, we're going to talk about some of that as well.
Okay, yeah, I have that blocked off. I will be there.
Great, thank you. So yeah, Michael, it sounds like you're sort of agreeing that the time was also reasonable.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I think longer would have been tough. And this was, for the density of the information and the relevance of it, it really did move.
Great. Anything? What else do we need to talk about? Anything?
I'm good. Just really, both of you, well done.
you.
Very, really smooth. Yeah. There was a little bit of echo at the end. Just, we're doing so well. What's happening here? I don't know, whether the microphones get tired and they say, okay, it's time for me to echo a little bit or something. I don't know.
I think what's happening in the end, one of the speakers, actually both of the speakers were connected both by phone and computer, but I couldn't figure out which one it was to mute the other one. So
got it.
that was difficult.
Well, and they were all Lindsay, and that was hard.
Yeah, that was also hard at one point.
Yeah, they all. That's why Lindsay
got
got lost. There were too many Lindsays. That's why you got lost. Well, and again, that's another good tip for people is, help the speakers and the presenters log in as themselves so they can be managed properly.
Yeah. No, I sent them the link, my link, just to make it easy for them. But now that's a good tip where I'll actually register for them and then send them their individual link or have their link get sent out to their email address. I was just trying to make it easy for them, but yeah, that didn't really work out. So that's a good FYI to folks. Okay.
Great. Bryn, I have a question. So you can make somebody a presenter when they've already, so you could make me a presenter right now if that were appropriate, right? Yeah. So you could just send them the link and they could log on as a participant, and then the Bryns of the world could make them a presenter.
Mm-hmm. And the way we had it anyways, they didn't even need to be logged in as a presenter because I had Lindsay was handling the slides. So they just said slide, and so it was fine. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I can change presenter at any time.
Right. Well, and that's a good point. Is they just opened up their webcam, and that made them the presenter because you did integrate the slide deck, and that is critical. I mean, we've been talking about that since the last 3 years, is because there were some glitches early on about having trying to jump from your slide deck to the presenter slide deck, and also integrating the slide deck is one of our best practices. And having done that avoids having to do what we were just talking about. So, yeah. Reminder to everybody.
Okay.
Great. Well, kudos. Another one under your belt, dear.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
Right. Take care, and we will see you on the internet.
Yes.
Thank God for the internet. All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.